I'm sitting outside. If it's too loud, tell me to move inside and I will move in. So
It's fine. And we're live. It is Tuesday, September 2nd, the year of our Lord 2025. Uh, I thought my internet was fixed, but I'm told it may not be. So that sucks. It is 8:01 a.m. and I am here with, of course, Holly Berkeley Fletcher and the first of our three Taylor Swift oriented guests. Um, and we're gonna do a lot of this stuff. Um, and this stuff and oh yeah, and this, right? I can't that's hard. Um uh so Catherine is uh aka K-Pomps, is the an associate editor at Lawfare. She is also the filmer of all of the Get Ready With Me videos, all of the great production values and the all the things I know about doing that and doing this. I learned from her. And I can't really tell if she's more an earnest Swiftie or an ironic Swiftie, unlike the other two guests who are like super earnest Swifties. But which are you?
I am on my own Swifty journey. Um, I definitely would not say that I am at the level of our other two guests, but I think at first I was an ironic Swiftie, and I thought I was better than other people because I was an ironic Swiftie. But she's Taylor Swift has won me over. Um, but I will fight with Anna Bauer. I know about this. I did not like her last album. Um, I know. But I'm gonna give Life of a Showgirl a chance.
Wow. All right.
I know.
And on a scale of 1 to 10, how excited are you about the Travis Kelce Taylor Swift engagement? Is this a matter of ironic interest or full-blooded actual interest slash obsession?
I would go about an 8 on that scale. I'll say I don't follow her, her movements minute to minute. The way I found out that she was engaged was my dad texted me, quote, "Yo, Tay Tay and Trav engaged." So
Tay
if
Tay
that
was
tells you anything,
spelled
I'm excited.
Tay or
Tay. Yeah. That's
okay.
that's because that's what Travis calls her, Tay Tay.
Oh
Um,
God.
but no, I'm excited. I'm excited to see it. Yeah. Yeah.
And and
What
for
about you? Are
you,
you an ironic Swiftie?
no, I'm not a Swiftie at
Are you
all.
talking to
I'm
me? Ben is not a Swiftie. I'm trying. I'm working on him.
but
Yeah.
but
I mean, it's
but
worth it.
Holly is a Swiftie.
Yeah. But we need to do the cacti so I can get him out of the way because it's hard to type and
All right.
talk with the
Well,
cactus in front
I'm
of me.
just, sometimes the introduction of the guests and the monologue merges, but Holly makes an excellent point. Folks, um, the sun is shining. It's gorgeous in Washington. And it's cool and it's just an unusually beautiful late August and now early September. The birds are chirping. They actually did wake me up this morning. It's gonna be a great fucking day. And I think the cactuses have an important message for you all.
You're watching Dog Shirt TV, a fucking revolution in morning television.
You are watching Dog Shirt TV, and it is a goddamn revolution in morning television. And one of the revolutionary features, of which there are many, is that sometimes I forget that I'm doing the monologue and flow mellifluously into the introduction and early banter with the guests, and I have to be reminded by Holly Berkeley Fletcher that I have forgotten the cactuses, and the chorus of cactuses needs to have its say, and another one of the revolutionary features. And as I say, there are quite a few of them, is that every now and then we turn the show over to the obsessions of some of our extended cinematic universe at the request of the audience. And I do want to stress that this show was
Audience wants this. I think I want this. I wanted this. The audience is, and by the way, guys, here's the deal. The audience is not Swifty. We have a lot of work to do winning them
no,
over.
John
So,
Hawkinson specifically requested this show repeatedly.
okay,
And
John Hawkinson.
And I will add that there are 35 people watching this live, which is, not always true of, and so I think there's more interest in this show, honestly, than there are people who would admit it if you polled them. Um,
Okay, I guess there were just some vocal haters the other day.
well, there always are vocal haters.
Hating.
Carol
There-
T. And let me tell you what she did, Anna.
No,
She
wait, we're
came
not
on and
calling out individual audience members. That we don't do that.
well, there was a person who, but she came on with her hate, so I feel like it's fair. She came on and read a gorgeous line of Japanese poetry, which was gorgeous, but it also honestly sounded like something Taylor Swift would write. And I was like, you have not considered the lyrics of Taylor Swift. Like, this is literally the type of thing that she would write. It even had colors, a reference to colors.
Yeah, the
And
girl
I'm like,
loves color theory, you know?
that's totally Taylor Swift. So anyway, that's what happened.
John Hawkinson, who demanded this show, you get the last word of the introduction.
Oh my goodness. Well, I will tell you later why I am a space alien. But I did just want to put myself out there as the person who can be pilloried with fruit if there are objections to this appearance by members of the Benjamin Wittes cinematic universe with respect to Taylor Swift. I think it's important to give her a chance, and similar to the comments from last week, to divest your thoughts about her music from her late public persona, because I think they're two very different things. And indeed, as we learned in her, the title of her recent tour, well, however I can get there, her music has gone through a bunch of changes, a bunch of eras, one might say, and it's definitely not all the same. And some people are definitely, you know, in one or the other and not a fan of the entire body of work, and that's fine.
Yeah, like I think a lot of people just associate her with 1989 because that was probably her most popular, like mainstream pop era.
And
And
I'm
frankly,
wearing my 1989 tour t-shirt right now.
love it. But yeah, I think that that's not even the era, like that's not my favorite era at all.
What's your favorite era?
I'm a rap girly. I
Oh,
love the
right. Yes.
era. I think it's so fun. I think that it's so unhinged, and it's an album everyone thinks it's one thing, but it's actually something else. Like you think that it's all about revenge and all of that, and then actually it's an album about Taylor Swift falling in love with Joe Alwyn. I think that I don't know, I just think back on that era and it was so much fun. I will never forget the moment that we didn't see her for like 2 years in the public eye. Literally, Ben, I don't know if you know this, she had her people put her in a suitcase to
Yep.
take her in and out of her apartment because she did not want to be seen after her whole, like it's a long story, but basically Kim Kardashian had everyone mad at her for various reasons. And so we didn't see her for like 2 years. And then a kind of all of a sudden she was coming out with this album, and at midnight this song came out, and it was like, and Taylor Swift is notoriously terrible at picking her singles, but like, Look What You Made Me Do is this song that's like, oh, you did something bad to me, and now look what you've made me do. And I remember sitting in my bed, like with my hand like over my mouth, like, oh my gosh, she's
Which is
doing
a
this.
bad
This
idea when you're online and you're talking and you go like this and nobody can understand you, Anna.
Yeah, so like I have like my hand over my mouth like with a shocked face, like and it like Janine, do you remember that era
But
and just being like, what is she
wait.
doing?
We got to, before we get too deep into this, I got
Yeah,
to finish,
sorry.
I got to
And we're
do
not
the
even on topic.
introductions.
Yeah.
I got to do the
Oh,
introductions.
oh, okay. So I thought we were done with intros. All
No,
right.
because, like, I have introduced
The
Catherine.
show is already going off the rails.
Yeah, so Janine and Anna, as per always, show up a little bit late because, that's what they do, which, is
Because of who
fine.
I am as a person.
Yeah.
Well,
Never hire me for a morning show. Like I would never be able to be one of those women who gets up at 3 a.m. to go do the Today Show.
I'm fine.
So
I'm
Today
fine with
Show,
that.
don't
I'm
hire
not criticizing you, but it does require that 12 minutes in we do the introduction. So Anna Bauer requires no introduction to this crowd because she's been on the show 100 times, and she is also the only additional thing you need to know about Anna Bauer is that she's a deranged Swiftie. Um, Most of you already know the other relevant stuff about Anna Bauer. But Janine Balechian, or as we call her, the Balak, is requires a little bit more introduction because most of you guys know her, if you know her at all, as a member of the Greek chorus from In Lieu of Fun Times, who would sometimes show up on the show to talk about Wonder Woman cosplay and Taylor Swift and sparkly things of various types. And I believe there was a cat named Stevie after Stevie Nicks that would sometimes show up on the show. But there was this secret about Janine that I knew, and that the Greek chorus was unaware of, which I think she may be now in a position to reveal. Janine, do you have a Holly Berkeley Fletcher like secret to reveal about yourself?
No, it's nowhere near that interesting. I believe what Ben is referring to is that until recently, I was an attorney advisor at the Office of Legal Counsel.
Yeah, so Janine, while appearing on Dogshirt TV, was a Justice Department official. And
Official is not actually accurate. I did not rise to the level of official. I was an employee.
Well, but recently I did see headlines in which a paralegal was fired by Pam Bondi, and that paralegal was referred to as a Justice Department official.
Yeah,
So,
Everyone's an official now. Okay.
I think Janine was an official, but she was unlike that paralegal, and Janine did not throw a sandwich. Janine was in the Office of Legal Counsel, which is one of the truly elite offices of the United States Department of Justice, now roughly at now a bare shadow of its former self, with like three remaining employees who are lying in a fetal position on the floor, kind of wiggling like this. Um, so some other things you need to know about Janine. In addition to being perhaps the most deranged Swiftie I know.
Yes,
Um,
I wore all my friendship bracelets.
yeah, she was the Justice Department official, and I'm using the word official here advisedly, who was designated by OLC to dress up for Halloween because most Justice Department officials are way too uptight to put on costumes. And so Janine would show up on Halloween in costume, and the other Justice Department officials would bring their kids to trick or treat from Janine because she's the only person in the entire Justice Department with enough of a sense of humor to put on a Dracula costume. Is that a fair
Not
summary?
the Justice Department, maybe the entire Office of Legal Counsel.
Yeah. And I will also say that at Janine's wedding, um, a distinguished federal judge um, made a comment in the ceremony about how loud she was. And when I introduced her to Anna, who is also extremely loud, the theory of introducing the two of them was that they were the two people of my acquaintance who were the highest volume, most passionate Taylor Swift oriented lawyers.
And don't hate everywhere that we go.
I'm sorry?
I said, and also don't forget that we're always late.
Right.
Yes, that too.
They're late, they're loud, they're Swifties, and they're elite trained lawyers. So that was the theory of introducing the Balak and the Bauer. And with that, I'm just going to say I have very little to say about Taylor Swift's engagement. So I'm just going to ask questions, and just like Charlie Kirk, I'm just asking questions here. And here's the first question.
Okay, I just have a quick announcement for the two of you, or the three of you, if you don't know. Did you know that there's a at the 9:30 Club on Saturday night? There's a Taylor Swift engagement dance party. I'm going with my daughter. You should go.
Gosh, I know.
Yeah, check it out. Saturday night. Get on it.
Unfortunately, I'm celebrating my first anniversary on Saturday. It's actually on Sunday, but we're celebrating Saturday. So
I think your husband would love to come to a Taylor Swift dance party.
Yeah, Peter, if you're watching this, I think it's a great way to celebrate our anniversary.
All right, so here's my question. My first question. I'm just going to throw provocative questions. Is this whole thing just a a sop to people who wanted to be the homecoming queen and date the quarterback of the football team, and it's really just a design thing for people who are uh, you know have fantasies of being more popular in high school than they were?
And so obviously not, but I do love that it is like that, fantasy.
Look at Catherine's face right now. Her mouth is like.
Get off of this Zoom call. Like, get off.
I mean,
All
yes.
right, so tell me what's wrong with this theory, because I gotta say
Go ahead,
that's what it
Janine.
looks like to me.
Well, hang on, Ben. As the perhaps least Swiftiest here, other than you, I should point out that this was a popular theory when their dating was announced. That perhaps their dating wasn't real, and that it was just trying to get interest in football,
No,
or
I'm not
trying to get
saying
the
it's
football
not
crowd to get
real. I'm
interest in
just saying
Taylor
it's
Swift.
really convenient.
Oh yes, but the point is, it was so much more convenient when they were dating. And so now you have to say, will they take it to the next level? What would that mean? And then I think we can let the experts address it.
Obviously, there's nothing contrived about this. I mean, I think we can see from Taylor's songs that she doesn't really do contrived relationships. It seems like she feels them very deeply and then, writes about them. But I do love that it is like the ultimate, sort of country music song, small town fantasy of like the popular girl, the most popular girl dating the football hero, but it's not on the national stage. It's like the most popular woman in the world dating this Super Bowl champion. It is so, that's one way in which this is so storybook. And I feel like their whole relationship and engagement is so storybook, and it gives me the warm and fuzzies inside.
Yeah, I was said the other day, there's something that's both very feminist and sort of traditional about Taylor Swift, and I think that's why she really gets under the skin of certain people, is because she's a very powerful woman. Obviously, she's basically her whole a whole subculture and an entire ecosystem. But at the same time, I mean, she's been writing since she was 16 years old that she wants to get married in a white dress and have babies. And that's supposedly what they want women to do and want to do. And she's been unabashed about that in a time when maybe that's not seen as very, power female. And so I think that's why she gets kind of under people's skin. And I think a lot of women are that same blend. I know myself, I'm that same kind of blend of, I want to be a powerful, independent woman, but I also love that, I have a, sort of a lovely man who supports me and is strong in his own right. And I have a
He is a lovely
traditional kind of
man.
thing. He is so lovely. What is he doing with me? Okay.
Okay, I think that Holly is right about the why Taylor Swift gets under a lot of people's skin thing with the mix of feminism and being traditional. It is what I would call the Juan Merchan theory of Taylor Swift getting under people's skin. And what
Wow,
I
that's a
mean by
deep cut because so few people still remember the name Juan Merjan.
what I mean by that is that
You're going to have to
just
remind people who Juan Merchan
I
is.
am going to explain. Justice Juan Merchan, not Judge Juan Merchan, Justice, because that's how they do it in New York City, or in New York, rather. Justice Juan Merchan was the presiding judge over Trump's criminal trial in New York. And he's a very, like, handsome guy, like, there's something about him that has very traditional kind of like masculine type of look. But at the same time, like there's this theory of like he's kind of like he has like a more of a quiet masculinity kind of thing. Like if you watch him, you would know what I'm talking about. He's not, kind of brash like the way that Trump's version of masculinity is, or machismo, I guess, is more like what Trump would kind of be, but one of the theories that we talked about why is it that Merchan specifically, more than any other judge, like really gets under Trump's skin? It's that he is kind of, both traditionally masculine and then not. And Trump would always, talk about how attractive Merchan was. It was very weird because he'd go on these long rants and then he'd be like, but he is very attractive. His hair is great. But I mean, look, I think that Taylor Swift, it's kind of a similar thing. And I agree with you there, Holly. I think, like, Ben, to answer your original question, I think part of probably the psychology for Taylor Swift when she was first dating this man, I don't know about now, because I think they've been together for long enough that I think we can say that, like, when you're with someone for 2+ years, it's like, it's no longer just that you're with them because you have some fantasy of dating the football player. But like when they were first dating, I do think probably part of the psychology of it all is that this is a woman who has been writing songs about, like being like she's watching the guy play on the field and she's in the stands. Like literally there's a music video, a very famous music video of her like being the like nerdy girl, like, and the guy like in the stands, and she's kind of like got these big glasses on, and like, it's like she that has for a long time been kind of one of the things that she's written about, is this kind of like, wanting to find someone, and I think that, like, she was coming out of this relationship of situationship with a guy who's the polar opposite of the like American dream kind of Travis Kelce situation. She was with this like, you know, brooding like artist type who, or I guess what do we call him?
A
Hot.
series of them, actually, a series of them. These like thin
Yeah.
British weird men,
She
and
loved
I
a
never
thin
understood
British
it.
man for a while, yeah. But like Maddie Healy in
I like
particular,
British, but
yeah.
seriously.
Maddie Healy in particular was like with literally people named Hot Rat Summer after him. Like because he kind of is like a guy, like do you know what I'm talking about, guys? Do you know? Catherine knows. It was
Yeah.
like a summer of when these like men who kind of looked like they bore a resemblance to Ratatouille were like kind of all the craze. And he was like in a band and he was very kind of tortured and she wrote a whole album about it. And then she comes out of that relationship in which she's, you know, suffering from it. And then, oh, there's her like all American dream of like this guy who's 6'5" and is an NFL star and is really nice. And he's like, date me. Like she described it as him being like outside of her window with a boombox being like, date me. And she was like, and that's what I've like wanted. I've been writing songs about this moment happening for years. So I think that was part of the psychology of it and the romance around it, but I don't think that's what it is now.
And I think Travis Kelce, if I can jump in, and then sorry, K-Pumps, you need to speak after this. But I think the way that Taylor Swift sort of vexes people by scrambling, you know, modern gender, you know, norms or what we want from women. I mean, Travis does that too. On the one hand, he's this like massive, like kind of manly, huge football player. I mean, you can't get any more like traditional male than that. But at the same time, he's just obviously, you know, she's way more rich and successful than him, like by 10 times, I would say, like money wise. And he just
And she's
loves it.
not going to
Like
end her career with a traumatic brain injury.
yeah, yeah, and he's just like he could not be more supportive of her and pumped for her and whatever. Now, you know, I think what'll be and his brother is the same way, by the way. He doesn't have a power wife per se, although Kylie is getting to be a power wife. But he is very pro woman, and it's like he has daughters. His Jason Kelsey has 4 daughters. He has I mean, Kylie is no shrinking violet. I mean, she is a power woman in her own way and own right. And they're just not threatened at all. And so I think that is, you know, that's a model. And that's really what women want. You know, there's all these articles about what is going on with men and like and it's like, it's really not that hard, guys. You're manly. You're strong and manly. And, you know, you've got hair on your face and on your legs and other places. You're like, you're manly. You're hairy. You're manly. You're muscly. You're strong. And also, you're not a fucking jerk. Like, you're a nice, sweet person who changes their baby's diapers and loves how successful their woman is and cleans a toilet. Yeah, I'm sure Travis doesn't do that. But it's like, it's really not that hard. Like, what, you know, just be nice. It's really not that hard. And Travis Kelce is the male of the future.
All right, Catherine, you were the one who responded most appalled by this question, so I want you to address it. Why am I wrong to look at this and say the football player dates the sparkly cheerleader and they're getting married and we're all excited about it? You know, come on, show me another one.
I think that it hit a personal chord for me. I first became a big Taylor Swift fan, I think in middle school for me, which was the Red era. And so I've been watching her write about wanting love for years and years and years and years. And even when you thought that she found love, also all of her albums and her discography is not just like tearing down the men she's dated. It's so much more Like it's so much more complex than that. Um, but she's been wanting this sort of love. And when we thought she had it with Joe Alwyn, right? You start to realize, even in the most like lovey-dovey album I think of hers, which I actually isn't that lovey-dovey, is Lover. Like people say, that's the song where it's like, okay, she's found the guy she wants to marry. For me, Lover is a song where it's kind of this like desperation of like, please don't leave me. I love you a lot. Please don't break up with me. I want to go wherever you're going. I want to follow you. Um, and even then, like they would, be out together, her and Joe Alwyn, they'd be out together and he'd be hiding his face and he wouldn't talk about her in interviews because he was like, I want my career to be separate from, her career, and we're not different people. He was obviously, to me, I think, intimidated by her success. And Matty Healy less so, but he was just an ass. But like everybody else has said, with Travis Kelsey, he is just so proud and excited to be with her. And I think there is something about, he is this traditional masculine football player who, for a lot of men, I feel like is the person who's not supposed to like Taylor Swift, right? Like she shouldn't be at the football games. Why is she infiltrating this space? Meanwhile, she's on screen for like, I think like 5 seconds every game, or maybe 10. Sorry. Um, but I what hits a chord for me, and I think everybody else has said this, is that he's just so unapologetically proud and happy to be with her. Um, and I think it is deplorable that you would say that we should move on from this.
Yeah,
Wait,
and what wait, just to be
I'm
clear
just
too.
asking questions here.
Okay,
Deplorable.
deplorable. Basket of, well, I guess there's only one of you, so it's not quite enough for a basket. But no, but what Catherine is saying though is very much, I think, speaks true of like the situation for a lot of women who kind of grew up like when I was in high school in my cowgirl boots, I was like at the Rascal Flatts concert watching Taylor Swift open for the Rascal Flatts in her cowboy boots. And it's like you go through, like, because she has all these eras and all these different relationships, for women of like a certain generation, I feel like it's like you're going through your most formative time with her. And so that's kind of part of why you feel like, whatever happens to her happens to you. And sometimes literally the things that happen to Taylor Swift do, like we're going through it at the same time. Like it's very
Like a
weird to be
7-year
honest
relationship with a British
with
guy.
a British man. Yeah.
Yeah. So, all right. I want to, first of all, you did a deep cut, Anna. I'm going to do a deeper cut. When you wore cowboy boots to that concert, were they Cayman cowboy boots or were they ostrich cowboy boots?
No, I don't even think that they were real leather cowgirl boots. I think that they were some kind of I am not actually a cowgirl boots type of gal, and even in high school in rural Georgia, I had like one pair that I have no idea whether they were actually even leather. I don't know where they came
But they
from.
certainly weren't from an alligator.
I don't think they were any type of alligator or
Okay.
snake or
Okay.
whatever.
All right. Next,
I did wear the cowgirl boots to the Rascal Flatts concert because that's what everyone did.
next, deplorable, provocative question. Why do we care about Taylor Swift's dating and marital and love life at all? I'm trying to think of an example. Um, I think when John Lennon got engaged or married Yoko Ono, there were, a lot of people were upset about it because it
And I'm
was
going to challenge or
Because she
probe you on this
destroyed the
question,
Beatles.
which is to say, how is it different from other celebrities? Not, I mean, we don't have to go to John Lennon. Maybe Brad Pitt and Angelina Jolie, or I don't know, and the whole
well.
Brad Pitt thing.
So Brad Pitt,
People.
so fair enough. Brad Pitt and Angelina Jolie is, a matter of gossip. It's not a matter of international obsession, The 930 Club is
Yeah,
not
I didn't pay
having a
attention,
Brad
so I'm
Pitt
not sure.
and
Really?
Angelina Jolie engagement dance party. Not that they're still together or whatever, but um, like, why is it that, you know, multiple generations of Americans feel so personally connected to Taylor Swift's this like I mean I mean this as a serious question.
It's
What
actually an easy answer.
Yeah.
Go for it.
She's vulnerable. Her music is for pop music. Her music is vulnerable in a way that pop music is not. Even like she'll be like Anna and I've talked about this before. Like she's kind of embarrassing herself by just exposing how much she cares and how much she's devastated when someone leaves her and how much she wants the husband and the family. That's embarrassing for a woman of her power, and she's very vulnerable with her music. Then sometimes she's so funny, she's making fun of herself. The whole Tortured Poets department. People should a lot of people didn't get, like, she's like making fun of herself and how broken up she is about this brief little relationship she has. She thinks she's kind of making fun of herself in a way, and that's actually there's a lot of songs on there that are really funny. So she's being vulnerable. Anytime you have someone who is vulnerable, I mean, some people are going to hate on them. That's the risk you take. But most people, when they are willing to be vulnerable, most human beings, we're wired to respond in kind. We're wired to then be empathetic and sympathetic and embrace the person, and that's kind of how we're wired. So that it's her I think it's her vulnerability, why people care. And then the fact that she's been around a long time,
Yep.
and generations
Yeah.
of women in particular, but some men, have feel like they've grown up with her and feel a connection to her that you don't have. Most teen pop stars are blips that move on. You don't hear from them again. But people have grown up with Taylor Swift and her music, and they feel a connection. They're rooting for her the way they're rooting for their friends and themselves. So it's actually not that hard. Yeah.
Yeah, I
I'll,
think it's
I'll,
good,
I'm sorry,
Catherine.
Janine, go ahead. I was just going to say that, exclude the influencers that like live stream themselves crying. That is a completely different thing. I think Taylor Swift is the traditional celebrity that has been the most honest and open and vulnerable, as Holly said, about her experiences. And on a personal level, like, I do feel like I grew up with her. I have a Taylor Swift song for every era of my life, and every like guy that has been around. Like, when my middle school boyfriend broke up with me in 7th grade, it was White Horse. In college, it was All Too Well 10-minute version. Now it's The Smallest Man Who Ever Lived, right? Like, it is, she grows with you, and the reason why I root for her is because it really feels like, because she's so open with you about the listener, about her experiences, it really feels like you're, in a weird parasocial way, talking to a friend when you're listening to her music and relating to a friend. And so when she finally gets this like storybook fairy tale ending, it really is the big warm and fuzzies inside. I'm like, I can't believe she finally has this. And he's so proud of her. That's mine.
I think that's I think both what Catherine and Holly said are exactly right. And like, I am basically Taylor's age, and I've been a fan of her since her first album in 2006. And it literally, her, especially like, through 1989, I would say, it literally felt like I was reading my own diary when she would write these songs. And I would be like, oh my God, how is it that you're writing about the exact thing that happened to me? And it felt like she could express my own feelings more eloquently and accurately than I could. And so, like, when you have that kind of connection with somebody's music, and she's been writing about, the big fairy tale wedding and what she's wanted since she was 16, I'm just like, it's like, if you can't imagine it as a real celebrity or person, imagine a character in a book that you're reading about and relate to, and you're following them for a long time, and then they get their happy ending. That's why people are so happy.
Alice.
Oh, yeah. I would say I'm not a big Taylor Swift fan. Not that I don't like her music, I just never got that involved. But there's something about her being so talented and in her writing and her music and her being a woman and the fact that she also wants to get married. Like, I don't think people can kind of understand that like women contain multitudes, you know? Like I'm seeing you guys on this call and you are talented lawyers and writers, but people don't get that sometimes, that you also just want to be fun and silly, especially as a younger person. So I think that's a big part of it too. So
I think that's a really great point. I to something to add to all this is one thing about Taylor, like to go to the question of like why do we care about what happens in Taylor's life? Like one of the big things is that what is happening in her life, you know, is going to be reflected in the art eventually. So whenever I watch developments in Taylor's life, I'm like, oh my gosh, okay, so what does this mean for like what kind of album we're gonna get? Like everyone kind of had the theory that coming off of Tortured Poets Department and the breakup with Joe Alwyn, that she was going to maybe write something that was more upbeat, more pop, more kind of going back to like the 1989 or Reputation era of just like straight like pop like banger hits. And the reason why is because everyone was watching her love story with Travis unfold. And it was like, you know, that's his favorite era is 1989. And like, it seemed like for the first time in a long time, things were going well in Taylor Swift's life. And you kind of got this feeling of like, okay, she's gonna go back to this. And sure enough, with her new album coming out, what we know is that it's gonna be all pop banger hits. And so like I think that, you know, it's fun for people who like the art and who appreciate the artist to really pay attention to her life. The other thing too is she like puts all these Easter eggs in her life and in her about her work. So like, you know, she'll do something, post a picture, and it'll say not a lot going on at the moment, you know, and it'll have like 12 different Easter eggs in the frame. And it turns out that if you pay close attention enough, you can figure out what the album drop date is or, you know, whatever. And so she's kind of found a way to make it such that for fans of the work, it really pays off to pay attention to the life. And then the second thing I will add to, I really don't know that we would be here like caring this much about Taylor Swift, honestly, if not for COVID, which sounds really weird, but there's a backstory to it, and I will say it really quickly. You know, there was a time after Reputation and Lover, which were not like seen as really the peaks of her career. People still had a little bit of like a backlash to Taylor Swift after the whole Kim Kardashian and overexposure during the 1989 era. And people weren't really enthusiastic about Taylor Swift as much as they used to be, except for the diehard fans like us. And then, you know, COVID happened and it was such a difficult time for so many people. And Taylor Swift is someone who's known to have these long album rollouts. You know, usually it's all very produced, very kind of like orchestrated. And kind of like right in the midst of COVID, right when everyone really needed something to care about and to have like monoculture around, Taylor Swift just like up and drops this album, Folklore, that is very different from a lot of things she'd been doing in her previous eras. It ends up like winning a ton of awards. It's one of these albums that is one of her most acclaimed albums. And it honestly, like people that I never knew to like Taylor Swift during that time were listening to that, loving it, talking about it, because they were just so grateful. It felt like we had this gift of like this pop culture, you know, star just like kind of dropped this in our laps and was like, enjoy. And I honestly think there's still a lot of goodwill from that moment on that kind of carried her through like the Eras tour and additional eras. So yeah, anyway, that's my thoughts.
All right, next provocation. you know, no, you're not allowed to be mad at me for doing provocations. That's what I do. Um, uh, this happy ending, um, which granted, it's very storybook, it's very, end of a movie. But there's an old saying that all Shakespeare comedies end in weddings and all tragedies begin with a wedding. Um, and in real life, a wedding is not an ending. It's a, uh, it's actually the beginning of something. And um, how do you make a storybook? Like, what's the next act for this? I mean, the cynic in me says, you know, the Travis Taylor divorce is a great story. But what is the like? Is it a baby? Is what's the next act for if this is if we hypothesize that this is not the end, right? Because it's not.
Can we not just be along for the ride?
Oh, we can. Look, I mean, you're allowed to be provoked in any direction you want to go. I saw Janine say, "Oh my God." So what are you what did I do now?
Well,
What
what you did now is getting them divorced before they're even married. Just
No,
like,
I just posed that I'm
do you
just
not
asking
believe in
questions
love?
here.
Can you not be happy for people?
It's not really my job.
I will say though, I have heard a lot of people who, even people who are Swifties, who are like, "Oh, I can't wait for the divorce album,"
Ah!
which I don't relate to because I do want like I do think that it feels weird to be like I hope this person has this giant like crisis in their life just so that they can produce art that that I want to listen to. But I do like understand the reason why you're asking, and I do wonder like because of the reasons that we've said about like the things happening in Taylor's life impacts her art. I mean, I don't know what like she talks about having kids in some of her songs, so maybe she does want to have kids. I actually don't know if in interviews she has talked about it a lot recently. And so I'm not sure, but I feel like that could be something that is a part of her next era, potentially if that's what she wants. But like maybe later on there's going to be a divorce, who knows? But I have no idea.
I'm sorry. I hate all of this speculation. The divorce for reasons I already said, but I also hate the being like, well, what's the next thing? She'll have a kid. I think that, I mean, as a feminist, that is something that really annoys me. Like, yes, Taylor has talked about wanting kids, and if she wants kids, and if that's the next thing, then like, awesome for her. But I hate that we're all expecting, like, well, you get married, then the next thing is you have a kid, because what else could possibly happen to you? I don't know, man. I mean, like, a quarter of her songs since Lover have been about having her masters taken away from her, and then, or like inspired by that. And then she got them back. So like there's stuff that is gonna happen in her life that she can write about that's not just like, well, you get married and then the next thing is you have a kid because that's what women do. So I
No,
take
no, no, no,
exception
no. That's
here.
that's not fair. The if you're marketing, and among other things, she is marketing a storybook ending. Um, and we are all sitting around talking about, how this is the sort of magical ending, then you are begging the question. Um, and I don't think she gets the whether it's the nerd in the stands watching the football player or the princess gets the prince, whatever you want to map it onto, you don't get that ending without the question and then what comes next. And there aren't that many answers that map onto those storybooks. Like,
But,
um,
but like to be clear, I want to challenge the premise though that Taylor Swift is marketing a storybook romance because like a part like I agree that like there's an element of like the fact that this storybook romance fits the current era kind of, right? But like she like honestly a part of like uh, Taylor Swift in turmoil is just as kind of much of an interesting story as is
Actually, it's better. That's mainly what she
yeah,
has marketed, if she's marketed
yeah.
anything.
Like right it's like Taylor Swift at odds with people, Taylor Swift the underdog, like that, like and or Taylor Swift, you know, there's a lot of her work that the thing with the masters, or I could see honestly as her parents, she talked recently about her parents getting older and some health issues there, and like she has a really close relationship with her parents. And I could see, you know, like as she gets older and they get older, there being a lot of art that's produced around the kind of concept of what it's like to go from being the person who's cared for to the caregiver, and like themes like that that I don't know, I don't think that it necessarily hinges on there being a happily ever after to the happily ever after.
I think
gotcha.
Yeah,
for
I
That's
just
me,
interesting.
like
yeah.
this is not the end. It's an ending, right? It's the end to a decades long kind of course of her writing about her dating trials and tribulations. It's the end of that, but it's the beginning of the rest of her life. And like everybody else has said, I'm excited to listen to the music about the rest of her life,
And
whether
I
that's a
think
divorce or a
and
happy marriage.
life is ups and downs, and she's, I think, if anything, if anybody, I feel like understands that and writes about that. I mean, that's her. You know, it's not a happy ending. The story keeps going. Okay, with if I can with our remaining time, we're having a big. We're trying to convince Kate that she's a great lyricist, which she is. I think she's an unbeatable lyricist. I don't know that just reading the words on the page, it's the music and the words together, but I think even just reading on the some of her lyrics are just like, I mean, and I'm a published writer, guys. People say that I'm a good writer. Like I'm
Everyone's
not
saying it.
everybody's saying I'm a good writer. Like I know good writing. I feel like I know good writing when I see it, and I that's what drew me to her is I actually listened to the lines that she was saying, and I was like, wait a second,
Weren't you drawn
this
into
ain't.
her by your daughter,
Well,
Holly?
that's what got me into her, but my daughter is the one that was like, hey, because so when she came, I'm a full grown adult, like I'm menopausal, okay? So I did not grow up with Taylor Swift. When she came on the scene, I was full grown already. And her first initial albums were country, and I hate country, and I still will not listen to any of those albums until Red, I basically start with Red. There's maybe a couple songs before that I can tolerate, but I hate country music. And she was young, and young people, I mean, her lyrics were fantastic for a 16-year-old, but like, like what kind of wisdom does a 16-year-old have, right? So I was not, she was sort of frozen in my mind. And then my daughter is like, what is wrong with you? Like, why don't you like Taylor Swift? And I'm like, like pop Prince. She's like, no, you got to listen to this. And I don't want to hear anything else from you until you like listen to the whole, she made me sit there and listen to the whole folklore. And I was like, sold, like done. So anyway, I just thought it would be good to wrap up with what are some of your favorite, not songs necessarily, but some favorite lines of songs
Wait,
that are your favorites. And I'll go
just
first to give you a
just
minute to think.
just we have to reserve 2 to 3 minutes for the other Taylor. That's we have to do
No,
that.
That
no, don't reserve 2 to 3 minutes for the other Taylor. I
I
can
don't even
come
know who
back
that
and
is.
talk about the other Taylor.
Yeah.
All
Okay.
right.
Yeah.
No, sorry, Taylor
Anyway,
Lorenz. You're completely self-centered, but we're not going to end up talking about you.
so I'll give everyone a second to think. I mean, I think the whole All Too Well is just a masterpiece. I mean, I think that's a masterpiece. If you're going to listen to one song, you got to listen to All Too Well. 10-minute version, but even the shorter version. But the line in All Too Well that just gets me every time is You call me up again to break me like a promise, so casually cruel in the name of being honest. And I was like, hold up, like nailed that. Casually cruel in the name of being honest. To me, that is like it, and it's so like culturally astute because being honest is such a cultural value in the 21st century. Anyway, that one kills me. I've got more, but
Damn it,
that one
Holly.
gets
That was the line I was thinking of when you
okay.
made
Well,
the
sorry, you're
question.
gonna have to come up with a different one.
All right, Catherine, you're next.
That was also mine, but I'll do another. I'll do another one from All Too Well. The line is, "I kept you like or yeah, I kept you like
Yes,
a secret, but you kept me like an.
kept
I
me
kept
like
you like an oath,
no,
but you kept me like
listen.
a secret."
No, you
Something like
kept
that.
me like a secret, and I kept you like an
Kept you like
oath.
an oath.
Yeah,
Yeah, I think that
yeah.
speaks for itself. That one really got me. Also, the end of that, um, the end of that song, especially the 10-minute version, it's literally a minute of her just going, "It was rare, I was there, I remember it all too well." If you've ever been gaslit, it's a great song to remind yourself, I was there, I saw it happen, and it's literally just her repeating it over and over and over again. Um, and for me, that hits. So.
Anna.
Oh man, I mean, yeah, look, I mean, everyone, all too well is like usually everyone's like number one when you ask what Taylor Swift's best songwriting is. Taylor at peak. Taylor, I feel like I'm gonna have to think about this to be honest. I like,
You have
oh
three
man, there's
minutes,
so
girl.
many. Okay. Like, I do love the line driving a red Maserati. Loving you is like driving a red Maserati down a dead end street. I think that's a really fun lyric. I mean, some of my favorite Taylor songs though are the quieter ones that you really got to kind of sit in it. Like, I love Peace.
Oh, I
Is
love peace.
Peace
Yeah,
is so good.
yeah,
I
so
love it
good.
so much. I also love. I am controversial in that like I love the Tortured Poets department so much, and there are just so many like, and I know it could have used a little bit of editing on some of the things, but I think that it's just great in terms of like you can tell it's just her like writing in her diary like catharsis kind of situation, and I think there's a lot of great stuff in there. Okay, I'm gonna shut up so that Janine can go.
Man, Anna, I have nothing to say because everybody took my answers. I do think all too well is definitely what I initially went to. I went to exactly the line Holly said. I was also thinking from Red. So there are a couple things that came to mind from the song Red. I just loved moving on from him is impossible when I still see it all in my head, and that's not like a. I mean, that's a pretty straightforward line when you just say the prose, but it, at the time when I first heard that and, is relating to my life, I was like, yes, that's exactly what I feel like is like, I know I should move on, but I can't because I keep seeing like the flashes and the images in my head and it brings back the feelings. And anyway, the guy who I felt that about in college ended up being my husband.
There you
Yeah.
go.
Also, Catherine, you
I also,
mentioned
sorry, I would just also I want to also say that I love the Tortured Poets department so much. I felt like it's the musical equivalent of reading Wuthering Heights. I could feel the emotion and the passion and the like sadness and the breakdown and the sort of liberation in parts. I love that album so much. And then
I
another
love
one,
it too, but I find it funny. Again, my
yeah,
interpretation is that she's kind of poking fun at herself a little bit. Like she's just kind of annoyed with herself that she's so overcome, you know.
I think
I
it's both.
don't know.
Like I think it's. I do agree though. It's
It's
very
both.
funny, and you've got
It's
to like
very funny.
you've got to understand that there are times when she's trying to make fun of herself in the album, and it's
Yeah, I
funny.
All
know.
right. All right.
Sorry. Go ahead.
Wait. We gotta have John's favorite lyric.
I, I'm not really one to pick favorites, and I do enjoy All Too Well, but really I was here to say I'm a space alien. I was born without the sports gene, and I don't particularly care for football, and intellectually it seems like a great way to damage your head, and so I dislike it because of the way it what it does to our society. And so I'm really struggling with how to feel about the engagement. It feels like, when a strong, independent woman I know decides to get married to somebody who I'm not, I don't know the person, but I know their job, and it's a job that I'm not wild about. And that's kind of where I am. And I was hoping that you guys would be able to tell me how to be a better person.
It doesn't matter what the job is. It matters like how the person supports, their partner, whether you're a male or a female. It's like we are here to support each other and
Well, I mean,
cheer each other on.
if the job was to be an evildoer, then you'd think differently. And I don't want to say that being a football player is being an evildoer, but that's kind of what worries me about it.
All right.
Well, I adore
Wait,
football.
we gotta give
got nothing
we
on
gotta
me.
give Kate the chance to speak before we wrap, and then we gotta
She's
wrap
gonna make us all mad.
because
She's
we're
gonna be
all
disgusted.
I was pretty negative in the chat. I'm not going to bring up any of
She's
that.
so negative.
And I don't know why my camera's not working. I apologize. But I do have a question for the panel, and you don't have to answer it because we don't have time, but just think about it and get back on the chat somehow. Do you guys worry? And I have nothing against Taylor Swift, despite whatever I was saying in the chat. Do you guys worry that their relationship is too public and too for the fans? And I'm thinking of the engagement. No, Holly, I'm not saying that this is a performative thing. I think they genuinely have a good relationship, but I just think of like the engagement setup and the 2 weeks delay time, and not that it's for the fans, but that the pressure of the fans would affect their relationship. No? All right. I guess
all right.
that's
Janine
absurd.
gets
Sorry.
the last word because she's going to take it whether we give it to her or not.
That's correct. Kate, I absolutely do not think this, and I think that the reason I don't think this can be seen when you compare her current relationship with Travis to her previous relationship with Joe Alwyn. When she was with Joe, it was very much like we didn't know anything about their lives. Joe refused to talk about her in public, and I think like she kind of took that lead. I think with Travis, like we see them go out together, we see them do stuff together, and they talk about each other in interviews. And I think it was Travis who actually said something along the lines of, private doesn't mean secret. Like we're just living our life. I'm not ashamed of it. Why would I hide it? But that's not the same as like letting the cameras into your intimate details between the two of you. And so I actually think that they strike a great balance that seems like when you look at this compared to her previous relationships, seems to be more what Taylor wants, where she can share this relationship and her joy with the public while at the same time like keeping it intimate and not like live streaming everything.
I get that, but don't you think it's weird that 2 weeks?
Kate.
Okay. All right.
We're done. It's 9:03. We're 3 minutes over.
And you've got to schedule a bonus dog shirt daily.
Yes, I need my questions about Taylor Swift answered, please.
We were 15 minutes late yesterday.
There's no follow-up here. We're cutting
Pop
people
Culture
off with a
Tuesdays.
brutal lack of due process. Anna Bauer and I have our morning editorial meeting in 26 minutes.
And Catherine.
And Catherine. Sorry, Catherine.
What?
I was looking at Anna when I said it. Anna, Catherine, and I have our morning editorial meeting in 26 minutes. Taylor Swift will still be there tomorrow.
Not going.
And folks, so will we. You should join us tomorrow. It's going to be a blast. I have no idea who the co-hosts are going to be. I have no idea what the subject is going to be or who the guests are going to be, but you'll be there. And I'll be there, and Holly will probably be there, and the cactuses will be there, and
Maybe I'll come back and talk about the Taylor Lawrence beef.
yeah, we can talk about the other Taylor, as she's known, who's infinitely self-involved, but I think is on the right side of this particular issue. That'll be tomorrow. Hang in there, do some good, draw on the sidewalk with chalk, and don't get arrested for it.